All right, 9/11 and our Mondays with the Mayor series continues, but as I've mentioned a couple times on the air this morning, Mayor Summerville not able to join us, and she alerted me to this yesterday, the fact that the Legislative Revenue Committee had a big discussion in Cheyenne today about local government funding and very critical meeting the mayor needed to be at. So she apologizes to everybody in the listening audience, but Councilor Pat Gabriel has joined me in studio. How are you today?
Very well, David. Great to be here. And you know, we were talking a little bit earlier. Monday with the councilor doesn't have that same ring, does it, as Mondays with the mayor? But we'll try and do our best.
Yeah, we will try and do our best. I appreciate you coming in, though, and agreeing to chat with me on some key topics, because I know there are a lot of things that have gone on here recently. First of all, one of the big things that we talked about, and this happened to be last month, and Mayor Summerville and I, we had the ASUW President Ben Wetzel on with us, and that was the big public discussions that happened over what's going on with 15th Street on the University of Wyoming campus there between basically Grand and Willett, and what the deciding outcome was going to be. How would you characterize those meetings, basically? Let's start there.
David, we had 4 public hearings, and we had really good attendance at all of them. We had 2 on campus, 1 at the rec center, one at the Laramie City Council. And we went through, just opened it up, you know, here's the situation, here's why we're here. Legislature had a footnote in the budget that said we needed to take a look at safety issues on 15th and Grand and 15th and Ivinson, the whole 15th Street area there. And so we had the public hearings, and I think there was one person that was in favor of closing 15th Street. Everybody else said no way. It would be too much of a hassle for people to go to 9th and 22nd, because that would just clog up all the other streets if we close 15th. Now there is a situation that the legislature wants to look at, and that's safety. Everybody wants to have the safest possible situation at 15th and Ivinson, where the students cross to the dorm area. And you know, we've looked at tunnels, possibility of a bridge, maybe even a gate situation, but of course that all entails a lot of money, especially when you're talking about a bridge or a tunnel. So if the legislature wants to come back and give us a bunch of money to do studying and that kind of thing, certainly open to it. But right now, the report went off to the Board of Trustees. Trustees sent it off to the legislature. They're going to take a look at it and look at a lot of the different comments that were received during the public hearing process, and anybody's guess what they're going to do with it.
Well, I find it fascinating that this got stuck as a footnote. People somehow get the idea that the university wanted this, but I don't know necessarily if it came from the university or not. And I understand the issue of safety, but I mean, you've lived here a while. I've been in this community for quite a while, and I can only think of 1, maybe 2 instances that involved vehicle pedestrian accidents, and thankfully in both situations that I can recall in the last 2 to 3 decades, that we only have a couple incidents and that the pedestrian ended up being okay. I think the driver of one of the vehicles, if I remember, was actually banged up worse than the pedestrian was in the most recent one, and that's going back a little while.
Oh, no doubt about it, and that was really brought up by a number of people. You know, what is the situation here that we need to do something, because the traffic reports do not show any kind of major problem there. Remember, we had that one driver that was impaired, that went down and was out of control and so on. That was 4 or 5 years ago. And we really haven't had any situation that would necessitate some kind of immediate action. And you talk about requests, the Senate, the state Senate voted 30-0 against this. So it was from the House committee, and as the footnote, but it got stuck in there, and they said city and university look at it. So we did.
So even the students' discussion didn't bring up the possibility of closing. I mean, because you know, and I don't want to put words in the mouth of ASUW President Ben Wetzel, but I kind of got the sense that maybe there would be some of the campus community that would enjoy maybe more access and kind of freer access if it was just kind of a walking area through there.
There were a couple of comments along that line, David, but most of them said do not shut down 15th Street. There was a little criticism from some of the older people about students paying attention and looking at the cross signals, right?
I mean,
taking their earbuds out.
Yeah, we've had that on our social media pages of, hey, you're 18 years and older. Didn't you learn to cross the street a long time ago in a safe manner? We've also had discussions about distracted walking on this program. Let's just make no mistake about that. But this was interesting that this got brought up, and I'm wondering if it came from somebody in the legislature that has a kid at the university that thought this could be an issue in Laramie or should be an issue in Laramie. And I guess I've been dumbfounded by why this came up in the first place.
It was certainly a surprise to all of us. I got a call from the mayor during last session saying, oh, by the way, this is a footnote in the budget. We're going to have to study it. And she was surprised. And so we went through the process. I think it was a really good process. We'll see what the legislature does. I would like to have a safer crossing at 15th and Ivinson, but it's going to take some money.
So at this point in time, nothing's going to happen anytime in the near future. If something were to happen, as you mentioned, the next step is on the legislature, and they would have to appropriate a pretty good chunk of change to at least do some sort of study, basically.
That's the way I see it. They're going to take it back. This is a budget session coming up, and so they have 20 days, and if they decide to do something, fine. And if they say, here's some money to take a look at it, certainly would do that.
All right, well, we'll keep on top of that. That's the latest update. But right now, nothing's happening on 15th Street. Let's just put it that way. Councilor Pat Gabriel filling in for the mayor today. Unfortunately, the mayor's at a big local government funding meeting from the Legislative Revenue Committee going on in Cheyenne this morning. She wished she could be here, but thank you, Pat, for filling in. The landfill fire, boy, we've heard about this. Oh, we've heard about the stink and the smell, and I got a sore throat, and I got irritant allergies, and why didn't you put it out in the first place? Why did you let it burn? What is the latest on the landfill fire that we had here? It was a pretty good nuisance for a while.
Boy, I live up in that area.
So do I.
And North 15th Street, that was not very pleasant for a couple of days, depending on the way the wind was blowing.
Yep.
So we got an update from Fire Chief Dan Johnson last Wednesday when we went through our interviews with our candidates for City Council that we'll talk about here in a minute. But still, they don't know what happened. The fire started on a, what was it, Thursday or a Friday? Thursday, about 5:30. So we're not sure, you know, they're going to talk to people who were in the area. Maybe if there's anybody still hanging around, but the landfill closes at 5, so I'm not even sure if there's anybody there. So he said that they were trying to move and do all the things they could. There was, 4,600 tons, a big glob of green waste from a lot of the branches from that big windstorm that we had in the summer. And our regular green waste.
Some of mine.
Yes.
Trust me, I had 2 big trees that went down.
So they were trying to move it around. It was hard to get water down into the middle of it, and they couldn't put a lot of water because then it would seep into the cell, and that might contaminate the groundwater.
Oh boy.
So they had to be very careful with that, putting too much water on it.
Okay.
So they had to kind of move the debris around a little bit. And he says doing that, you really can't tell the source of the fire. And so right at that particular time, this was last Wednesday, and I haven't heard any update, talked to the mayor last night, we still don't know the cause of it.
Okay. Which is interesting because some people, there's rumors that are out there in terms of the cause, but according to authorities, nothing official just yet.
It's out though, David.
It's out? Okay.
It's out.
All right, well that's good. No more smell. Well,
Yeah.
we dealt with some smell issues in the city this year between that fire and Stink Pond, and I talked with Todd Fieser on the program, and he was every time I referred to it as Stink Pond, he kind of got up in arms about it. Not really up in arms, but he's like, that's just bad when you're the Parks and Rec manager and there's a place in your town called Stink Pond. So
I heard that interview, David, and I could just see Todd every time you would say that. Oh.
It's true. It's true. Again, Pat Gabriel filling in for the mayor here with our Mondays with the Mayor series. So the 15th Street outcome, we've got an update on the landfill fire. They still don't know what caused. All right, now you guys on the City Council are trying to fill a seat. Vickie Henry. Now you're going to have the official announcement. So I don't want, we can't give that away, but and people want to know, but the City Council will announce that at their regular meeting, 6:30 tomorrow night at the City Council chambers down at City Hall at 4th and Ivinson. What was the discussion like, and what was the process like, do you feel, last Wednesday when you had that kind of open panel? How do you feel it went?
Very well. It couldn't have gone any better, I don't think. We had 5 candidates, and I'll mention these candidates in alphabetical order. Rebecca Buss, Jennifer Drew, Casey Fromm, Roxy Hensley, and Phoebe Stoner. Those are the 5 in Ward 1, which is west of 3rd Street.
Okay.
Near West Side, some of downtown, and West Laramie. So it's Ward 1. Vickie Henry resigned to attend to family matters in Arizona.
Yeah.
So we had 5 candidates. You have to live in the ward for 1 year to be eligible.
Okay.
So all of these people, Rebecca, Jennifer, Casey, Roxy, and Phoebe, all are in that situation. And we interviewed them, lots of different questions. And to tell you the truth, from my standpoint, David, if I were to throw all of these candidates in a hat and pick one out, I would be very pleased with all 5 of them.
That's good.
They did an excellent job. They really did.
What was the public input in terms of this process, do you feel? What did you get from the public? Very much at all?
We had a couple of questions from the public. It was sparsely attended, just you know, a couple of people, mostly spouses attending. But you know, I think it went well. We had a lot of questions about the future of Laramie, the ward in West Laramie streets, and that type of thing that's been talked about over the years. And the budget situation that the city's in. So went well, and here's how I envision it happening tomorrow, David. Mayor Summerville will ask for nominations from the 8 remaining councilors. And okay, candidate X, I'm going to nominate candidate X. Anybody else? Okay, Councilor Shumway, do you have a nomination? I nominate candidate Y.
I gotcha.
And so the first one, do we have any further, by the way, any other nominations? No? Okay, they're closed. All right, what about candidate Y? Can this candidate get 5 votes? No? Oh, how about candidate X? Yes? That person will be approved and sworn in, and they will take their seat tomorrow night.
Okay, so and how long does this term go? Through the remainder of the 2-year cycle?
Correct.
Okay.
Through 18.
Okay, so through 2018. What if we have a tie? What happens in that regard?
Then we start the process over. If we can't come to a consensus, if we have a 4-4 vote, then the candidate will not be seated. If we can't come to a majority vote, has to be 5, then we will start this process over. I don't see that happening because of all of these candidates that applied are very well qualified.
All right. Have any of these candidates run for city council before? Their names don't sound familiar to me.
I am not aware of any of these candidates, Rebecca, Jennifer, Casey, Roxy, or Phoebe running.
Okay, all right. Well, I know you've served in this community a while, whether now it's on the city council, you were with the county commission before, so I know that you've been around here. But I mean, when I heard the 5 that you mentioned, it did not ring any bells in my estimation there. So, all right, well, that's going to be interesting to see how that goes. And again, that starts at 6:30 tomorrow night, and that will be your top item on the agenda, I'm imagining.
First thing out of the chute. So we'll take nominations, see if we can get 5 majority votes, and that council person will be seated tomorrow night.
All right, so look forward to that. Anything else that's coming up that we need to be aware of in the public, Pat?
You've talked about this on Laramie Live, and
I talk about a lot of things all the time.
Yes, I liked your rants, by the way, and I want to commission with you a 60-day window for campaigning next year. I'm going to go in with you on that. 60 days in the primary, 60 days in the general, no campaigning before.
I would love it if we could do that. Okay, I understand how the situation is big, but and I don't think it's as much at our level. I really don't, Pat. I think most candidates here on a local, state level are okay, but when you get to the big national elections for Senate and House in some of these states.
Well, it brought it to mind when you were talking about candidates against John Barrasso last week, when you brought that up. Yeah. Here we are again.
Yeah, no doubt. It's one of those situations, and I'm like, seriously, can we get out of the everlasting cycle? And it's like, we're already talking about presidential elections here And I'm going, we're not even out of the first year. I mean, tomorrow will be election day across the country for some various elections. I don't think we have anything local here. And so, but some places do have, you know, whether it's a ballot initiative or whatever, but there are some elections, special elections for different places across the country, not necessarily here in Laramie, and nothing at the state level in Wyoming. There might be a few local issues in different communities. But it's just, some of the national politics is starting to wear on me a little bit, Pat. And I think a lot of people have that same sentiment. It's like, let's shut this down. You want to run for this and that office, I would love to see a certain window of time saying you can't start doing anything until this. You want to raise money? Go out, that's fine. If you want to go door to door, but you cannot. I just get kind of sick of the ever-present national ongoing campaigning, basically.
I'm with you.
Because I think we've gone through the last few presidents with that. I think Obama was constantly campaigning. I thought Bush was constantly campaigning, and so it's been on both sides of the on the spectrum there. And again, I don't have anything against politics. I have my personal opinions. I have, you know, things that I believe in, candidates that I like, candidates I don't like, but it just gets to be too much sometimes.
Let me just mention one quick thing about the traffic study at 22nd and Reynolds, junior high, that you and I go by a lot.
Oh yeah,
have in the past.
Everybody wants to know when the light's going up,
yes,
because that's finally been approved. Right. But the problem is everybody wants to know when it's going up. Well, you got to have some funding for it.
Traffic study warranted a signal at 22nd. Okay. City manager, I asked her, Janine Jordan, a couple of weeks ago about the process, and she says we need to find about $225,000.
Oh my goodness!
For a traffic signal there.
Are you serious?
So that's what we're up against.
225, and we just lost
508,000 from the state. So there you go.
All right.
And we have 23 positions that are permanent positions in the city not being filled right now because of this budget constraints. Yeah. 23, including our assistant city manager Dave Darragon took another job. His position is not being filled. Yeah, and I knew we are really cutting corners down.
Yeah, I knew that. Mayor Summerville had mentioned that, and I talked with Janine Jordan about that. So yeah, wow. All right. Well, $225,000 for that signal, folks. It's coming. When? Your guess is as good as mine.
Janine says we're going to try and do the best we can to find money, maybe move some around here and there, but something's going to have to suffer if we want to put that traffic signal up.
All right. Well, thank you so much for coming in. Appreciate
enjoyed it.
All right.
Thanks a lot, David.
It's our Mondays with the Mayor series. It's not been the mayor, but as Pat said, Mondays with the council doesn't sound as good. But I hope Mayor Summerville had a productive meeting over there in Cheyenne this morning. Again, unfortunately, she ended up having to go to this big critical meeting with the Legislative Revenue Committee about local government funding, and considering we just lost $508,000, you were going to say?
What does sound very good, David? We got the boot back. No, I'm sorry, we retained the boot.
Yeah,
I'm sorry.
Yeah, we kept the boot at home, yes, where it belongs.
50th anniversary, 109th. Oh my gosh.
That was a great game, huh?
That was something else.
Oh, I love it.
Couldn't be better. Everybody's in such a great mood on a Monday.